So here I am, 42 years old, good health, good job, nice wife, great kids, everything's going really, really well for me. And yet, one of my favourite bands is a band called Linkin Park. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Linkin Park, they're kind of aimed at teenage boys with songs full of how terrible life is and how terrible they are and how unfair just the whole shooting match happens to be. And so I'm not quite sure why I like them so much, but I do. I was quite taken though with their recent album, Minutes to Midnight, and the very first single off that is a song called What I've Done. And it starts with all the usual Linkin Park motifs, betrayal, lies, regret, all that usual kind of stuff. But then, just into the pre-chorus, they had this great little line with, so let mercy come and wash away what I've done. And I thought, that's really like the Christian message. That's what the gospel is about, that you do dumb stuff, everyone does dumb stuff in their life, and yet this mercy washes it away. It's taken care of, it's dealt with. And I thought, that's fantastic. When did Linkin Park become a Christian band? Now, I'm not saying they have become a Christian band, but I think they've kind of touched on to some kind of what I call a universal truth. That there's stuff that people just know because it's true. And in this What I've Done, Linkin Park seem to have touched into a little bit of that sense of mercy coming and washing away the bad things, the terrible things that they've done. And so I like that. I think there's a hopeful message in this new album of theirs, and I think it's really, really good. But even having said that, it gets even better because in the very last chorus, they have the line, today this ends, I'm forgiving what I've done. And I think the real challenge that so many people have these days is that, one, they're looking for forgiveness for what they've done, and I'm saying, God's got that for you, Jesus has that for you. But even when you've received that, the second part of the puzzle is accepting that and forgiving yourself. Today this ends, I'm forgiving what I've done. The story is told of a woman who was hassling a senior minister in her area, and she kept saying to him, God's been talking to me and I need to tell you what he's telling me. And he kept fobbing her off because he just didn't want to waste time with the crazy lady. But one day he kind of got annoyed with her and sick of her, and he said, well, look, here's the story. Last week I confessed something pretty disgusting to God. You go and ask him what I've done and come back and tell me about it, and if he's told you what I told him, then I'll believe you. I'll know that you're telling the truth. So she says, fair enough, and off she goes. A week later she comes back and she says, I've been talking to God and I asked him about the thing that you had confessed. The guy's a little bit nervous and he says, what did he tell you? And she said, God says he doesn't remember. And I think that story is really true of how God works, that he separates our sin as far away from us as the east is from the west, and the height from the low, all the rest of that. Your sin is not associated with you anymore. When you are genuinely looking for forgiveness, God is really quick and willing to do that for us. I think sometimes our own challenges within ourselves where we kind of hang on to it and we think we're not good enough and we can't possibly be forgiven or let off of what we've done bad in our lives. But I think it's actually much, much simpler than that. Now, I'm not saying Linkin Park are a Christian band. I'm not saying you should go out and buy an album for your kids. But I am saying they've touched into a nice universal truth there. And I think it's something that a lot of people I know would do well to think about. And I hope that it has given you some encouragement too.